have lots of it right now, and our trees are getting a little heavy with it. But it will be pretty. I'm thinking I'm going to take my camera outside and take some pictures of with the light and what have you to get some of the pictures before the ice disappears off the trees. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your class and looking forward to the discussion. If there's any questions, please just raise your hands and we will answer when it's appropriate. Gretch, over to you, Ron.
Aha, bonjour. Mijn naam is Peter Kijken, Peter President. Peter much staan, maar dan weet ik maar zijn. Wat zij hebben, wie ik dat.
Bonjour. Wat zij hebben dus niet kas. Mijn gun door hem. Zal geen doen je ba. So we'll start with the dates. Where we are today. Namaben Gizis, the sucker moon. Other is Makwa Gizis, Kwa Gizis. Bear moon, February. Nishtana Shanish, 22nd day. Nijing Dasvik, Nishtana Shanish, 2022. Nshwaswa, Boganet. Majisa. It's 8 o'clock start. So welcome everybody, and we'll continue on with the smudge. So as we go, did you want people to introduce themselves too while
we're doing the smudge? Introduce yourselves. Who's out there? So we know who we're talking to.
Aha, Marie Mason, just like Dagi Mampin, Benjaba.
Bonjour. Manido Benashi Kwa and Dishnakas, Mangando Dam, Zaginang in Dunjaba, Gichinendam Chi. How?
Aha, Kevin away.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Elizabeth, the nose went out. Meanwhile, Baba Kwa, an engine can go. Anishna.
Hey, Baba.
Oh, meal.
Aha, Muscut may say in the Snakan go Makwan or Maki, Sagin, Shulkaning, Dunda. Me West Mampina, we beat the gate Mampin Diane, Mampiji Kulgumik. They go much tango in fear, Bob. Nango with the bottom mom and knock. The family, since the family day was yesterday. How can I go? How isn't a shing now you're in the king? Chicken man, I've been buying the king. We this year won't be no game in the much done. I'm the great grandfather of Miss Thomas. You got to go in the king. Mother again, grandmother, no promise. Michelle, my grandfather, Miss Thomas, and my grandma, Nokomis, auntie, Nosha, is it? Uncle, Shisha, father, Nos, or the dad, mom, or my mother, Doro, then, mother,
Gusha.
Gusha. Be here, Lori. I'll get you to do that.
Okay. So the way to say baby is,
Baby, yes.
oh, baby yes. Oh, okay, baby yes. A new or young child, Ashka Benoji.
Yeah, Oshka means new
Ashka, yeah.
child.
Son, Gwis. Daughter, Donis. Grandchild, Noshan. Young man, Shkinwe. Young woman, Shkinikwe. Man, Nine. Woman, Kwe. So we have sister, Dewema, brother, Nichkiwe, younger sister, Shima, and the same is for younger brother, Shima. Say my older sister, Miss older brother, Sayan.
Michelle, you're near the family. Can I go you? The oldest to the youngest, to the brothers, to the sisters. Can I go? Moms and dads. There's no thing you can mind you. Be Papi que não magueje com que não tinha. Manda que não, mas veja que we could manda nem. The big girls don't cry. Kick at it. And they went in the king, we carry on in the king, my fellow, more quite Nico's mouth. Yeah. Big girls don't cry. That song from, I want to hear Bill sing that song too.
Girls don't cry. You want me to sing? Yeah. Girls don't cry. No.
They're at it again.
Oh, no, here they go again. No. Okay, big girls don't cry. Quesens would be a little girl. Right, so if we did a literal translation, but if we're looking at big girls, we're looking at grown or shkinikwek. Shkinikwek would be the older girls, like maybe a teenager or something. So if that's what they're talking about, so you have to look at what is it that's being looked for. So if you say shkinikwek, kai is don't. Shkinikwek kai milsiwok. So mwewok or milsiwok, kai milsiwok. So to me, that would shkinikwek kai milsiwok would be big girls don't cry. But I know the song is talking about young ladies. So
Big girls.
Well, Miss Mossy.
Chiquel.
I want to go back in the go.
Yeah. So it's always the description of what's being looked at is there has to be it's very specific when you're asking in the language what it is that you're trying to say. So we're trying to interpret Big Girls Don't Cry, the song Big Girls Don't Cry. So it's just the only thing I could come up with was shkinikwek, because it's talking about big girls, but it's more they're talking about young ladies, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Shkinikwek kai milsiwok. Big girls don't cry. That's how I would say it. Of course, Janet and I sang, you know.
Mission Yingami.
And then talk about big girls don't
cry, which is a statement that not exactly true, because everybody cries as far as I know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's a gift.
yeah. Big guys don't cry. Macho thing, I guess.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Bill has his hand up. Do you mind if he?
He's got to sing that song.
Yeah, you're quite right that it depends on the context in your language, and so if it was like a 3-year-old little girl that was crying, and you say, "Be a big girl," like big girls don't cry.
I wouldn't say that though. Because you're allowing that. I understand where you're saying. You're just trying to the context of it.
So in that case, you might say "Quesens yug," ki
Yeah.
"Quesens yug,"
Mhm.
and then when you say "don't," is that gego?
No, it's again,
Okay.
it's in the context of the sentence.
Mhm.
Kawi would be don't. Kawi is no, but
No, okay.
see what in that context would be no crying, I guess.
Okay. Oh, so gego would. So what's the difference between gego and kawi then?
Kawi gego. If you say kawi gego, it means I don't have anything.
Mhm.
Or
Oh, okay. So it doesn't mean don't at all then.
that's
Gego.
right. Yeah.
All right.
It's the Kawi part. Kawi.
Okay. My mistake.
Girls don't cry.
And cry is
Oh, he was saying something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
and then cry is mawe, mawe.
With, and it depends on how it's being used. So
Okay.
yeah, the way David was just asking, how did I translate that? I would have said, "Shkini kwewok, kai milsiwok."
Mhm.
That's how I would say it. So mwe would be the root word of cry,
Mhm.
but depending on the context of the sentence, it would change.
Right. So
So
what would the ending be?
Milsiwok. It's like a plural because you're using
Okay.
plural of girls.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it falls in with the kawi, the kai milsiwok. So it just
Right.
it's in relation to that as well.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mhm.
So I was going to just remind people as well, when we're going through the words, we're giving you the root word, such as for daughter, Donis is the root word. But if you're saying my daughter, I would add an N, which is the possessive. Instead of saying Neen Donis, it would be kind of almost a silent N in front of it, Donis, which is my daughter. So the N gives it that possessive.
So there's mine,
Neen, ween, and gin.
your, and
Theirs.
theirs.
Yep.
Mean, keen, and ween.
Yeah.
And there's also, I guess, an amaba.
Yeah.
Mhm. And come on, deze. The Ginago holiday. Oh, we went through that already. I was going to eat about mom, Kigo. En ab de zwak in als je bent tot in biesnik, babin cigaret, shamgear even, twaalf snodio benesiak, magazines. Maar we ook wat mama gina, te gok, op je chicken king, mama digik. Op je na, maar na sadiak. We kim gishno, met piek snang ook nee. last August, isn't it? No, October. Tornado that comes through here. You go even on bass, they're all down. Just them two particular trees. That's one that I can just wonder what's going on. Beneshiak, it was a moment. West Siak. Nangadishma near in a way, in the window, is what. He's saying, about New Year. We could. And we got again, my friends. New
Yeah.
Yeah, looking chicken money or Manda. When I just was mine, and I will be giving to Maggie. You know, we was a chicken got a couple of Kinamagi chicken money and women. No, not my watch for you, could you come over and make war? We would come Congress coming now. You know, we wonder. Sap much tongue not picking shit me sap which I'm not going here sir walk with again meeting at the bottom on the other king the some of the come suck you got you which when nokmas when it comes to imagine clear or the we can on the man the magic in or the you know demon Sagogamanak Tagagamanak Skumanak Kinagano and up with this one can shim not cable sure keep one the man you know is now going to get you magic in you got motion Kinago. One new order get up down now. A monk's come look. Try the dog. Oh, fucking up, man. No, Mr. Get up now. Risky as ring. You wouldn't want to pretend to me. But imagine. I'm going to get it. Yeah. I've been really emotional. Get on the king. Oh, you put up the gig. Kijk, bij Maxime, is nu de mobiele king die aan or the ene king die aan. You got nog meer sounds. Ik kan het op again. Kijk, wie man go Simon, ik kan. Niet de shirt. Dat nog niet. Scum nog. Pionin Jean. Think is mugs up, me show me a cook I can see my engine. You got the knee. Scum knock a bit mugs up. If you rain ends me with me, to turn in the money, stop me dog it. Me, the moment style, 22. Imagine a single shot. I should want to be turning, you know. I go home and get on back. You can. Worst of get out. We have you can. No matter. You know, always see it. Not a bush not going to question from you can. Oh, not going to be chicken. Oh. Seeing Madonna. You gosh, no, snuggy. Wash it you back way on you and king you can marvel. You will be what up the cook. The gun get taken. Pinican king. Damn, can go magic begin. We got Kinamago and the king in the king. King and I again in Swan is here. We take the can the wheat game organ to eat more content. You got with more warm body. Go the canoe see the wheat more wet. Get to no, I'm sure skip it. How Monday you can know when you get Missä together bisgo gene kiviskone out. You know that one single furrow that plow. It coming out more maji kimaja. You know my good king of the young together. We lips copy to swift down the got. You say, hey, he could mandagin them. Oh, bomb the bomb go on, king in her. Go by Jean Man King. But to on the money we could. What must the ash with the nigga and swanaka? Not if you go with the obvious bougie. It's more the we actually more it on the king. We already Chicago, take okay, Adik. You know, more on the king. Zo maar speel niet en dan naar boven je toch niet. Op dit moment ik ook een dorp man no. Miso sorry shakin dorp maar ja. Nou je kon simnatik. Jo simnatik niet. Je moet ook maar toe in dan naar boven. Je moet ook je pini nezoje is zien. Je wel had je bakje. Mirishio, the king got cousin water, not give him not the Koreagic, not some birch bark, can go in up at this what. Misho, my verse tick, quabble, we could a bit of a jewel, we could thorn tree. Oh, up to yours, not certainly pompishuni, whips caneto. You shitting chickabing Nashville bezig na bass. Op zoek het is die bas quota. Pioni sun wish point. Chip point op zo wet partni virash quota. Kashna de ge jobs sige of de ko basso. There was no 2 years now me was. One thing, there was Dennis, Leon. Dave was a little too small then. We were told, oh, that's quite good. Son of a big bit of. You didn't know, so he's a swine. We should go. Because you walk the king of big, you should have a near son. Oh, me so that you got Hoggins and was on one on best. Mr. Ishkonayan, me vanilla. Oh, 3-4 chords. So then dogs are going to young with it. And dad, they're giving up a chunk. You see, Jen, what mama, and I'm real. Muddy shit or the geek it up. She not keeps coming. Kayo, yeah, Kayo. God, no, best what my wow, you get stop taking like much time. That was a hard lesson. That. You know, you want to read about the Bobby Cannon.
What about the extended family or roles before things have changed now, eh? Yeah.
Up to Sura, near Sagana, she wouldn't be given a good news, couldn't we? Shop deck on Egatoat, you king of deck, you strap them on. And the adoption is even a Anishinaabemowin and now the down. Kim of deck wasn't a good in that. Жабан юношин бежикпен можем ю гитап на газ битген аян гинагдамын мая is like a brother which can actually you on his passing shouldn't
Just like sister-in-law. We're sisters-in-law, right? We would have been welcomed as the sister, as opposed to sister-in-law, because that's the way it's said today in the English in the English way. But it would have been like my brother, my sister, because you have been joined into the family.
And even our Dodems, even though, well, Kwa and Mingan go to another community, you have family there because they're of the same Dodem. It's like an extended family.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah, ganagatuan mo ko.
relations.
Relations. Kinaenwemjik. So when we're, you know, when we're in ceremony or we're finishing praying, so we acknowledge all of creation, right? So it's Kinaenwemjik. So that's why I was looking at the word for family, or it was Nwemagan. Okay, Nwemagan, Kinaenwemjik, right? Nwem. So that's that Nawe, but it's Nwem, right? Because it's our family.
Maar de schreeuw bezig niet Johnson
Mhm.
dat nasap met de geo.
Me Johnsonak,
Yeah.
the children.
Our children.
Mhm.
I just heard it last night.
Mhm.
Yeah. On the one, there's almost two the same. One means outside, one means your bloodline. Okay. Like another family, let's say.
Word father, there's a more formal way, and for mother. Dudum, like in English, I would call my mother mom. Some people will call their mother
Mhm.
just mother, and that's where they're comfortable.
Mhm.
So Gusha is a more formal way of saying mother. And Dudum is my mother, Dudum.
Yeah. See, I never heard the word gusha growing up. I never, that, not until just recently is when I heard that word. I'd never heard it from anybody. So I didn't even know it existed. It was always Dodom is what I understood to be mother. And then the way, like father, the root word is os. But when you put that N in it, nos, that's my father, right? So os is the root word. Just like dedam, nidadam, that's my father. So the ones that have the N's in front of them are the ones that have the possessive on them. So that's why I mentioned them on this side. Just like grandchild, Ushan is grandchild. When you say Noshan, it's my grandchild. Noshem.
Okay. Mira, ginundat nga yung meron niya. Nga ba siya, may nagyapit sa kares na yan.
Gashana.
The older ones, like Namasham Saknuk, they would use it.
Oh.
Anishinaabemowin or somebody else was there. You gushing. It's not gushing. That's what they would say.
Is that? Oh.
Can you call the earth Gusha?
I was raised to know.
Okay, yeah.
Just Ke.
Ke is the ground though. Yeah, that's the earth.
Yeah.
Dodomna. That's what I've heard. I've heard that her called that Dodomna. She's the mother of all of us. Dodomna.
You hear that? Then you go on, Gushmakwa.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a different form of Gushmakwa. Gushmakwa. See how words get changed? Yeah.
I heard that when you say Shkopmakwa, they're getting moldy. So you want to be careful how get to know that word and how you can pronounce it, because you might, and the older one might think that what's gonna go on the king? We could.
What about the rules of say uncles or aunties in the community, they would keep an eye out for the children,
Mhm,
and it was a safer community.
mhm.
They'd send the kids home when they knew it was too dark,
Mhm.
or if they were getting into mischief, then yeah, they'd tell them.
And they'd listen.
Yeah, yeah.
I know what.
Mhm, mhm.
Det är en egen.
Did you get told something?
Yeah.
And today you get told something. You can't go.
But now the co-op mo go by I know the king. Oh, the king he slept down. He got Chiang. He by on the king. Dad's brother now. Boy, here's the cousin you. I see him people button the zini. Me got it. We bond up, but okay, bond on to see. Bond on is now open king, you know. I was watching that one and get a mystery bomb the bomb going. Give you on Punya. Michelle the king, Sagging Gibasha on the king. Pagnovian on the king. Or you see me Banabayan with the Sagging River. Michelle in the end. They had a lot of uncles over there. I think people were still. Kabugnabawe on people, Chickawin, he could have the Kawi, can we job. Bishingaya and Sibin Kikadok. Mean Yaki on the what he imagine God. He's stronger than his spears. That's that need the glass.
Mm, the eyes,
yeah.
the eyeglass.
I guess. He's a tongue harm, and that's covered on. But then you know, you hook to kill. Okay, you see, you work it up now. You're smiling now. It's one is the good elders. Can we know? Except for school, we not what we see. We come in again. Pure squats can you not? Give me this man. Pure, you be your name now. Then I told you can pay you. Stony Bricky in the name. It's not you looking so near. Give you a shank. You be your book. It's about you on the go and sit down. No, aunties. Up to go near. On what way, the some go. Up the head of Schmuck, bit together. When again, not in any more. We'll give with the budget of the money. A joy book and king. A joy is what man is not back. The was marking on the king. You will not make. And we give king, we now here tapping the trees, not now here the king. Montpellier, Tegan, we should 20 believing me one too much time ever when I walk the garden and the king was now was home on the way to Morgan and Quasmic. Feel much time. Oh, give me time. Missa, and the king, I still got your aunts, aunties. Montague by Giant, sometimes they run across now. Mama, cousins of mine. You don't have cousins here, eh? Cousins, yeah. Michigan, what chicken, what of it, not trying. Chica hunting. Well, you're gonna see me by which you
Cousin.
yeah, cousin. Can you sponsor me? No, try you the king. Kinada Marok. Not each never know. Marok people here. Marok from not sure but one tower keep your question from tower. Not pitching even no vegetables, not snuggle. You go shit. Grandpa from some snuggle, you chicken here. I'm sure you seen the game. Total shovel, 10 money, cream. Not snuggle on the king. Shit, Baba Kwan, Kego. Kisha Wabon, well, we was about 5 in the morning. You need, but that the walk we get nog mis. Squism, they could go schmuck, you see. Oh, hoe zie ik hoe schmuck. De kous ook, dus de hoe is nog geen hoor. Ik ben straks naar een bombe te worden. We zien het maar koko. Koko. Me de show. Как это я? А вот такие там кошмар. Me гистайн, кобойсен, me как это я. А вот такое, когда мы максим там кобойсен, как это я. Ну, я king даже не то, que não mago я. Misschien ten kinigiwe ya ne daren dorum ya wat ambiya ya en dan dikshne dan sugana ni akibigiwe ya misi kigunke ya gana pitchen hon beda kitia bigiwe wat mam ya no pe mam bob kizit don kimin azgaya gubu isnim na da gumen gemin aha so fiş panamaya la yo sanki kimin azgaya misigi yok ya no fra yo ginak magazin jedmo ke bom nach schwamen Prenha que eu ia dar nome, não chego na piscina, tam que teve lá.
Que com que
Vettani kurakano no gishing. Tam betok ne piscina ia dar nome. Over the hill. You didn't get over the wings. Taken. Can only more. Oh, que único
I just remember a story about the bijek when you get the milk and you make the cream. I was trying, oh, I know what that word. I was thinking magan. Yeah. Ne yogi ginadvam dodo miga stop ha. No commence. I know that word, yeah. But Mennonites, pana Yojaman, Ginadman, Mogan. And then they used that cream. What? The question what? We used that cream in there instead of milk. So we used the cream to make that scone, that question. And then just or on the potatoes, you know, it was just only came once a year. To be able to have that.
When secco de bugdi ne.
Don't take it. No, je cook in Portugal. Kinda where in Windagana. Even Portugal, Pune. Mishma via a man, I won't say his name, but he used to come because he lost his mom and dad. Ashkanagina Tao Gemava Nishnave. Mishma keep a shot. Dinwe Mauna Nina. He can done this. Mishma keep even watch it maybe 2 weeks, not gonna mark. Yeah, keep a shot. Maybe sometimes a month, sometimes a whole year. But he was helpful. He, like all my siblings, he treated them like his own children because he didn't have any children himself. But he was very helpful. He'd make the fire in the morning for Mom to cook the breakfast, and he was very helpful. But that was my mom's on my mom's side. Nokmis, Chinokmis,
Mhm.
her I was looking for a daughter here, but I can't find it in my list. Don, is Don, yeah. That was she was married to that brother. And that's who sent him over to our house because they knew we had 9 children in my family. So they needed she knew that the family needed help sometimes with with raising the children. He was very helpful. I could say this in my language, but it's there's some words I just get stuck on. But he was very helpful. And in those days when people visited, Kim Watcherdok, Kinaganawaya, Minoa Ishpenwin, what they put a wreath on the door, Kakayavishkesiokyo. And then when we buy that residence in Dawat, we con what Migo, everybody would be quiet and they just pass by, or maybe they'd go in and say some condolences. But that's the way it was in our community. Kimbochudok. Migo, no moya, keep a shot. Kageo, Kishamawan Gewa, Kimbochudok. Kinogana, we are Kilab Nada Hudo. Mishlam Mam Pigini and Kenman. Me man Mandarjam got man Pisagi. We become too within ourselves. We don't visit. We don't acknowledge our relatives if they're struggling, if their health has declined, or or they're sick. But that's the way it was in our community back then, and I think it was very healthy the way it was. There was no secrets. Confidentiality. Confidentiality. Everybody knew. Everyone. Nagmakewa. Kageo. Because we're all equal. We're all the same. Mishmandagani pandemic in Japan Mangani. May 1918, another pandemic went by. Kaigamam Piki test nonyo kadamam. Sagi, I guess she meant maybe the village. I don't know what she meant. Kaimam Piki Pias nonyo kada. Kaimgochangishas. Kaimgochangishas. Kinomagi them got chi Wamija. Kinagomakiam got Miganari that saved us. I don't know. Some of us. But I believe that I think the influenza did come. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't aware of it. I don't know. But anyway, when you talk about our relatives, I just think about that man that used to come and join our family, like help. He was very helpful. And he just helped a lot. We raised the children. And he gave me some stories. I'm going to think back on those stories and I'm going to see if I can remember some, but they were all that a story, what you call, that you could use in your life. And that's how he didn't try to interpret it. He just told you the story. And whatever you got out of it, that's what you got. And I'll always remember him because he was very helpful. Miigwech. When I think of that, I think about
Miigwech, Murray. Manda Nindoro. You Bukashget, Kishman, Kilway by Anjin. Sunday, Kilway be out. Met me, we're not teaching you be seeing the auction, don't want to talk to me. Keep voicing it. Chagana, not he'll get say on the road. The them get the kitchen and more Sagana. Shinan dogs one show a book.
Lori, when we were talking before about everything that came before us, and we talked about stars and where we come from, then I noticed that story, the hole in the sky.
Yeah.
Can you relate that story?
That Bugone,
Yeah, that one.
Bugone Jesus, is that what you say?
Gunagi.
Yeah, so when Pia Yao Ying, a Yang Ma, and then there's the spirit world, Nidoke. So we talk about the creation stories that tell us that we all come from the stars. We're all from Star Nation. That one constellation that we call Bugone Gijik, we're told, and I've heard this in stories, that that's where we travel through. There's 2 stars towards the tip of one side is where there's like a doorway. And that's where we came through. And then when we talk about those, what they call unidentifiable objects in the sky, we call those visitors because we acknowledge that we came from the stars. So when we see those, you know, I think about that they're coming through from what we would perceive as being that spirit world. Spirit world is beyond what we see as existence here. So that would be maybe another realm of the universe, maybe, but it's that other dimension. Because in our understanding, when we leave this existence as a human being, we don't die. Our spirit continues. So our spirits travel on. So I was just mentioning that I'd heard this about this constellation, which we call Bunagijik, and which is the hole in the sky, right? Bugona, that's that hole in the sky. So it's almost like that doorway where we travel back and forth between dimension of our reality and what that spirit world is. And that spirit world is beyond the reality of what we see and what we perceive as being the earthly realm. So everything beyond that is spirit world, and there's that doorway. So yeah, so I think about that when people are saying, "Oh, we see a light in the sky and it was moving," or are those visitors and did they come through that doorway? Yeah. So it was just an interesting conversation about how when we had the constellations and when Agijik was there and when I'd heard that understanding.
So
of
when
that
we come
traveling.
here, we're all given a responsibility too,
Yeah, we're all here with purpose.
because we were here last. And we always think of ourselves as first, but we're not.
Mhm.
So when I speak about our relatives, it's everything that we've talked about so far. Everything in creation, we are part of creation. So if we take our responsibility seriously, it's to look after what was there before us. What's here now and what's to be in the future.
Mhm.
Yeah, ensure our future.
And how everything that's in creation, the water, the air, the land, the fire, the animals, all these things that's why we touched on all those topics, before we got to this point
Mm.
where we're speaking about the
Mhm.
human being now. There was purpose to why we did that, because we always acknowledge everything that provides for us first.
Mhm.
So we acknowledge creation first. Just like when your grandfather, our grandfather said, you look after all of the farm animals first
Mm.
before you sit down and you have your breakfast.
Mm.
You look after them first
Mhm.
because they provide for us.
Mm.
So we got to make sure that we care for them because
Mhm.
they're going to give of themselves to us. Yeah.
Mio ne mandas na kane gini snabe und given Japan what the ladies ni kipnis na gazato snabe chabada go shing mo pe niwen na kimiji gazan but they condom down and pe by ein mo pe mi gami gazat ya kai ya na kwelk Gamsio, Benoji Wandaz, Mio, near Dewagon, Pio Mabo Quare, we begin joy not no, we've been dads, no, we've been again. Jim Gamin, Mon King, bit of gushing, Jackson and dogs at K, Jackson and Migugi on our sapin and Maja, I know that Jim Dewatic out here, Jim Kagumushi, Jackson and them. Sin dogs at them, Maja. Mi de short king en jarne king, pongo schmuck ne king. O gata bi unang, no mantis na kanen but. Mi o de western sky, o de en jarne king kijin. Mi de short king towards the north in the job. We saw the constellation again on there's the Kadak Milky Way. The big canoe, he was at me so
Mhm.
near Pskabi, we de jarne na ladies, Pskabi na. Na pitchen go. Yes, it been down within the 9 months after the death. Yeah, Scabio. Me got kid a weapon in the king. Reincarnation is the cutting good you. Yeah, took Scabit. Kiko, Kion and me a bunch be out near. Near Piasik. Can I get up now? Can I go near coming Gaza? Yeah, you know, we might get up to the next dimension. Yeah, but it's in the king. Neo, go with the Magon, but me the sure you can only go on one name. Sacred fire na karengo kung piniking te mi pskena tuang yo yo skore pi na mazak pi we not moyang he we na pskabit ko mi de shoni was wabong na me got kijing or na bin me got the big we would walk mato nung go mo mi a pskena set mi okay eket ni ap ni giwet
Mhm.
kishuno mo ti unen gegon mina kidat yo. Nog kan je een king, ik kan allemaal om een king. Het system man. Want je naar mag heen, dan heb je niet een king. Maar ik ben nog een king, nooit je ken moat je. Ik ben nog een man heen, no niet. Je tapt naar moat. Maar dan is het even, was je snap hem moat. Als je me gewoon mazang goed je. Niet te zo, me gewoon niet, not. Ik was zo heb ik. Was kan je aan ook een king. We got taken what month of kitty abi gas not can go nas me tar what mi garok ke de put so na to one to them one ga not sure que o tap na what you the king kai ken sin ocean snabe what ken dang you in snabe you wish get not magin you man kan ma tragic and it's not saying me to sure ni One is an issue on looking king, Nigar. Go McKen what my peer Tinguk. Abrak stop them what. Skip the what King the king up to go Nango went panat go min go in. Niin, minä gini esikin maan tekskittuun jo votat naman mikä guan banja. Vuosis vain, abdekukska wajda kutus hema vikeda. Den keuskittus on käytät massi. Kiababdek maguinaki keda. Abdekukskittuun kinegego. Kenavo ei aaman abdekukskittuun. Joo, minä olen kai napsikin sinua. Marina, kaketeri kai uian watchwest juknanga. Apsikin hasnak tuokin, minä ennen daaguk. Daksinen da, siinä gini mupi. Every Tuesday, Mama Lori, Mupi Dave, Alan, Kilgama be Autiga. Ruodige, Audrey, Natasha, Victoria, Bill. Kilgore Autiga. Visitation and Man Uniking. Kagwapjo, the Kujing Mo was second get an upsu. Bishu Ken Monday, Autiga, Zindago in Vision is singing. Section and dogs in no and another modern Uniking.
We have work to do.
Mhm.
So I was thinking about next week. We're getting on to maple syrup weather, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maple syrup is good. Is there any question?
Yeah. Last week, we're going to talk about body parts. We should volunteered, so they're going to put stickers
He
all
was-
over me.
Anakin.
So sometime in the future, you said sat next week. Is
He's trying to get out of it.
We'll have them all stuck up tomorrow.
There was one question from Liz in the Q&A part, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Liz, are you able to ask it on audio?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Dan kubajikan.
Oh,
Wikagi no nana. Yeah, we're all linked together, all of our beings. We're like little chains on a bicycle.
The full circle, we're not that much tired, won't be a great grandfather. You'll go in Japan, you're the king. Won't be Shone, Mishomas. Then we will be Benoji. We should be down here, down in Marjane, then you know, on the home.
Yeah. That's the circle. How we're all connected. Kinawea. And there's so many teachings within this circle. In this one, we have the eastern direction where the babies and the children, and how it moves to the southern direction, and then that's the teenage, the youth. Then it moves to the western direction, which is the adults, the mom and dad, and then into the northern direction, which are our Getsajic, the grandmothers and the grandfathers. But there's so many teachings within this circle, the circle of life, and how we are all connected. And all of creation falls within all those teachings. And yeah, that how we're all connected.
She may got you.
Mhm,
Aber det kan nog någon damen ju.
mhm.
Man den nog besök. Så kan det vara ju mycket. Så vid många år. Mio kvar ni life givers. Ju en jamat strangok Maya.
Mhm.
The mountain. Mishagi in nok. En dat is wat ze kwam mijn. Pio kwok. When you know to show up is what. Keep that danger away. Provide food, shelter for them, provide warmth, give them the
Protection.
food.
Mhm.
Can I go in the key?
Yeah. I was just laughing in my head, just because there was just a friends of ours, there was a relationship issue going on. And they're younger folks. Well, you don't want to have the aunties stepping in. Aunties will have to straighten this out.
Mixture me go king. Now again, Mishram me know again, you know, how do you say that when they spoiled them?
No such thing. There's no such thing. Ziggy-zag.
Michigan don't give what you tap. The rang what you tap. We saw them in the bit talk. Mishram snow, not missing. No, boys what me now.
But you never spoke back to your grandparents.
Mhm.
Golly, and
Didn't think of it.
no. And if you got scolded by your grandparents, yikes, you did not want that.
Mhm.
It's not that they hit you or anything, they didn't. It was just, if they had to say something to you, you knew very well that you had done something that you weren't supposed to. But you don't, that's another part of when Marie talked about how things have changed.
Kigo with Mogwin, Mondab Deckerstick.
Mm.
Kyosin Dagesson, Missimina, Abedek Mandagastick, go kid a scum good at voice getting hair.
Mm.
You put your navy, but Abedek Christick, or Kidatia, Miss Obdeku, Christick.
Mhm, mhm.
Kayu won nap cook it see.
Ah,
Same as swearing too.
There was no
mhm.
swearing,
There was
no.
no cussing.
No, no, respect.
Mhm.
You had respect.
Me and my mom, and then there's no 7 grandfather teaching the humility, your respect, that love, kindness.
Mhm.
That you get that knowledge throughout that time and that wisdom. Pure can almost get the comedian without the truth. You
You get.
So there's all your can almost taking it.
Bagida'waad.
Is gewoon puur bezigation, je wist je kind magazine oder wir genau davon wir nerv kein Jamstein ja nie an mir du kenn man ju ne angok tengo ne kan Jamstein ja dek ken dan pi warming tengo ken go como na ba da dek ken dan ja kujinge go tengo ka dek ken dan no de tegen kina go na ka regin yun kin te ko kego kina ga bade ko kendan ya shkum go yo mat changut ya pompi go zibing king sagging river go king sabo de ko kendan yo de tengo ki go ke ajik go go chigmin kina go go ke ajik ken ma ke yo Pio ne we go to Mosai you and the ken man king na ma ge ken eu coisa me going agora ora no king of can no king we you get in king
And the identity at and how you fit in with everything, and that your life is validated. But that we've come so far away from that,
Mm.
so you got to bring it back.
coisa me going we kan go ken see que do que eu ando com som 15 ni já manda ni don't you know who I am que
Mhm.
cada uma 15 já que What's that go? Ah, Miss Mina, Gistein number.
So you guys, thank you again. But on a bit of an amusing note. Loy, I know you've been wanting to break out into song all evening. So can you sing us Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes?
How do you say shoulders? I don't know how to say shoulders.
Yeah, I know that. Senor.
No, still on.
And their toes are the same as your
Is
fingers.
it
Is it?
this on our toes? Knee? How do you say knee again?
Kidugush.
Gitgut?
Yeah.
Gitgut? Don't know how to say shoulder.
Liz put in Din Mognan.
Didn't Mognan?
Maybe Liz, you can pronounce it.
Yeah. Din Monganan.
Didn't Mognan. Didn't Mognan. And how do you say knees? How do you say knees again?
Book.
Oh, geez, okay. I forgot to say shoulders again. Didn't Mognan? Didn't Mognan? Somebody remember that. Didn't Mognan. And somebody remember knees.
Okay.
Because you're gonna say it when I get there.
Okay, here we go.
Stick one. Didn't Mognan?
Yeah.
Say knees.
Keep it
going. Okay. Head and shoulders, knees and toes. Okay. Stog one didn't Mognan. No Mognan. Zidasan.
When I go get you.
Didn't Mognan. No. How you say knees? Get the cook. Zidasan. Get the cook. Zidasan. Come on, didn't Mognan. Get Mognan. Zidasan.
She's good.
She's gone. Tognan. No. Eyes, ears. Go on. Josh.
Amazing. Thank you. Maybe. You guys walk.
You all have to practice that next time. When I was just told them that you can when you're the king when the budget among. I would like every day, every minute. I was just told them no. They're going here, then we took everything.
So homework for next week. Everybody's got to learn head and shoulders, knees and toes.
Yes.
Watching on the monitor.
Thank you, guys. Have a great. Have a good one.
Bye.